Welcome to the Naija Filmmaker. This is a podcast designed for us to talk about Nigerian filmmakers, their films, and how we can build a diverse and functional industry. I'm your host, Selegot. On this episode, my guest is Emil Garuba, who is a screenwriter, director, and producer. He co-wrote movies like Lionheart, Road to Yesterday, and Fourth Republic. We talked about African storytelling, his new production company, Sutoritera, and how writers can protect their intellectual property. If you are a new listener, you're welcome and I hope you enjoy. Hi Emil, welcome to the Naija Filmmaker.
Hi.
You're welcome.
I'm glad to be here.
So I can see that you've worked on a lot of blockbusters like Lionheart, Road to Yesterday, Fourth Republic, Silent Tears, and so on.
Wow. I don't know if they're blockbusters, but I guess I will say some really good films, some really good stories. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be, to be a part of them. So at least to be one link in the chain, as a writer, So yeah, I'm happy. They came out well. People seem to like them, so I'm happy.
That's great. Like, did you always want to write?
No. The truth is that I don't actually like to write. It's not my skill. I guess people talk about, oh, you're a good writer and this and that. And I honestly believe authors are good writers. People like Chinua Achebe, Wale Soyinka, those people, they're, and a host of others, those people are writers. They can throw words around and all that stuff. I don't think I know that many words, but I'd like to think I am more of a creative person in the sense that I am very creative. So I can come up with stories. I can come up with, believable stories. I can come up with anything. And I think just gravitating towards writing for screen, for movies, for TV, for visual media is more of a structural thing. I just happen to know how to structure things, and screenwriting is structuring it correctly for the story to flow, to have your ebb and flow up and down, to get the right emotional response, all that stuff. But I think that's where my talent lies, because to sit down and write a 90-page script or even more, I don't have the energy anymore. That's a young person's job. So I can come up with ideas and maybe even give to people to write, people that have the energy and the ginger. Yeah. But with the things I've worked on, I just, some stories that happened to come together and they landed in the hands of the right people. But as a kid, I never wanted to write anything. I was more of an artist. I used to make comic books. I used to draw comic books. Yeah. And I used to make them in secondary school and I'll give them to my class. So I'll give them to my classmate, my locker mate. Before you know it has gone around the whole class, Some pages are torn and everything. But this guy made a comic, make another one, that kind of stuff. So I started out drawing and making comic books, reading a lot of comic books, watching a lot of film. And it was not until I was in university that I actually discovered you can actually study creative writing. Yeah. So I took a course in screenwriting, and I seemed to this would help me structure my stories. And then I went for my master's in creative writing. Oddly enough, the creative writing course is everything. So they teach you screenwriting, they teach you playwriting, they teach you novel writing, technical writing, any type of writing. And I was writing my dissertation. It was actually a novel, but it was getting to be too long. I think I got to about 200 pages. I'm like, this thing is tiring. This is going to take me like 7 years to finish this novel. So I just transformed the novel into a screenplay. It took less time. It was like 80, 90 pages, so just about an hour and 30-minute movie. I submitted that one. They seemed to like it, and that's it. I'm like, okay, so I'll just keep writing screenplays. And, novels take too much time, and I don't have that energy. So that's a long time ago. But since then, I continued and tried to do that. I was in the US at the time, and unfortunately, I couldn't write for about 10 years because I had to earn a living. Yeah, and no one was paying like screenwriters for anything. So unless you're in LA, working with Spielberg, any of these people before, you'll start seeing big money. Another thing, I just there was a very high, glass ceiling. People were not really looking at other voices in media at the time, and everybody is struggling just to tell their story, but they were not really interested in, I don't know, stories from this kid that came from Nigeria, or what do you know, that kind of stuff. So at about 10 years ago, in 2009, I came back to Nigeria, and I heard about this thing called Nollywood. I'm like, okay, let's see what they're doing. So I binge watched like anything that was on VCD, African Magic. I just watched everything. I'm like, okay, we're making films, we're making some interesting stuff. I was actually enthralled by what they were doing and the stories they were telling, even if it was part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it doesn't matter. They were telling homemade stories, and the audience was building, and we had superstars and all those people. I'm like, so this is happening here. I can do this. So I don't have to be writing stories about America, about my experiences in America, and writing American stories. I can tell Nigerian stories because look at these people. We're doing it here. So I started writing Nigerian stories, and lo and behold, I met some interesting people that seemed to put me in touch with interesting people and movers and shakers, and happened to recognize that, okay, I have some talent. I seem to know what I'm doing, and bought some scripts. Before you know it, I was on a TV show. I was writing on a TV show, Tinsel, Nigerian soap opera, and met a couple of people that I'm still in touch with today. We're friends creatively, and just kept it up. And I think one thing led to another, and I just happened to be fortunate to land on some projects that seemed to make some noise, I guess. But I don't think anyone actually knows who I am, because if they see me on the street, they won't know it's me. I think I kind of like it that way. Let the stories speak for themselves, and not I'm a superstar or anything like that. No, this is a career as any other, except there's no pension. There's no pension. So the hustle is extra, and we have to try our best to earn a living, and do what we love, which is making films and telling stories, So at least I'd like to think I'm contributing my part to the evolution of this thing called Nollywood. Just like when I came back and I noticed people had already started, the people that did great classics like, Rattlesnake and Glamour Girls and Living in Bondage, and all these films that we can just recognizably, quote, and all those things. So that's great. So hopefully the last 10 years of films that have come out, and maybe my contribution will inspire the next 10 years of people that come and say, hey, let's watch what happened 10 years ago, and they'll see some of the stuff I've done, and hopefully it will inspire them to do bigger and better things. So but I'm still in it. I'm still in the system, as much as I'd like to be, and as much as people commission me for work. And I've gone into producing, directing myself, making some short films. Hopefully I'll graduate to feature films, but I'm learning from some really good people. And, it's just about moving forward in this storytelling thing. And let me see what else I can accomplish, And yeah, that's about it in a nutshell. Nothing glamorous. I don't like red carpets. I don't like all that flash and whatever. It's not for me. I like my life stress free, and I don't get involved in anything I don't believe in. I can tell people, yeah, you have a good story, that's great. But for me to be involved in it, it takes something to hold my attention, something different. I'm always looking for something different to do. And with everything I've done is different. Everything I've written is different, and I like to explore different genres. So, hopefully someone out there has wants to collaborate with something different and interesting, and let's do it. But it has to be interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that screenwriting is all about structure. There are many different approaches to screenwriting with the different paradigms and all that. Do you have a favorite?
Actually, no, because this is the thing. The way I was taught, my screenwriting professor, Linda McDonald, in university, I still keep in touch with her. I always tell her what I'm doing, like on Facebook and on Instagram. I'm like, hey, I've done this, so watch it. It's on Netflix or something. And she's like, okay, yeah, I'm proud of you. But the way she taught me was because I told her I don't read anything. And yeah, for the record, I don't read. I don't even know how I got through university, but I don't read novels because I'm a visual person. Everything is visual, and the novels don't have pictures, so I can't. My imagination doesn't come from that.
Yeah.
I don't. It's a weird thing, but I don't read anything. So I told her I can't read these books, all these screenwriting books. I don't know what you're talking about. So for me, especially, she told me to just watch films. Watch the films. Let's look for the scripts, and then see what was written and see how it transitioned from script to screen. Yeah. So that's how I learned. So by watching a film, I could actually break down, this is act 1, this is the inciting incident, this is act 2, this is the conflict, this is the protagonist, this is the antagonist, this is what they want, this is who is stopping them from getting what they want, all that stuff all the way to the end. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's it. So that's the way I've been doing all this time. And I try to teach that same, I guess, method, over the years. But I found out that there are just too many conflicting, paradigms and methods and all that stuff. Some people are like, oh, I read this book. It said, in your first 5 minutes, you should do this, to grab the audience's attention, or blah, blah, blah. This other book, or Save the Cat or something, or put your hero or your protagonist in a tree and throw stones at him or her or something. Yeah. I'm like, there are too many rules. And I noticed I used to try to follow these rules as well to see maybe to make me a better writer, but that doesn't work for me. What works for me is how I was taught, and it makes sense because that's how I see the world. So I don't know if it's something I can pass on, but if not, that's okay. This works for me. So that's just really my approach to it. But for those that want to learn and follow some kind of method, there are numerous methods to go there. Most importantly for me, just make sure your story is interesting. Because if you don't have an interesting story to tell, why am I listening to it? Why am I watching it? Why am I wasting my time? Really, because there are a lot of good movies, there are a lot of good stories, and there are a lot of bad stories. And this is with every film production. Every film industry, every wood, if you want to call it. Now, there are bad films in Hollywood, Bollywood, Nollywood, bad films everywhere. But then they equally have some good films, So whichever, and that's why I'm saying some of the stories will resonate with the audience. Some of the stories just fall flat. They're like, no, we're tired of these types of stories. Give us something else, So as long as you have a good story, you structure it well, I think it will make a nice film or TV show or whatever. Go for it.
How do you know when a script is ready?
A script is never ready. A script is never ready. On set, you're still writing. I remember the most recent film I co-wrote Fourth Republic with this magnificent writer, Zainab Omaki. Yeah, she has energy. Yeah, she has energy. So to, put all that creative energy into the stuff. But I remember we got up to about draft 7. So initially I did 3 drafts. We did 3 drafts, 1, 2, 3. This was good enough for production. And once we started, then along the way we just noticed that, we need this extra scene or something. So now at night you're typing out the new page, revisions, add it, get the actors to do it. Or along the way you find out an actor and actress can't pronounce a certain line. Okay, so now we have to cut that out and all, remove that whole scene from the whole movie. And then we try to do things professionally so that at the end of the day, once you've shot a complete script, once you've shot the film, you've locked the film. Yeah. So you also lock the script. Now this is the script, this is the shooting script to this film. Yeah. Everything in the film is in the script, so it matches up. So it's not like, hey, we did a whole new scene or whatever, anything like that. So I think for me, that's probably where the script is finished, because there's always something to edit. There's always something to change, but once you know that you've given your creative all to a story, just pass it along. And if someone feels that this is okay, we can use this for something, great. If there's more work to be done, there's more work to be done. But I think at the end of the day, once you have that locked shooting script final, I think that's where the script ends. That's when you're done. Yeah. Some writers are fortunate to be part of that process. Some writers are just, they do maybe 1 or 2 drafts, maybe 3 drafts. They feel it's okay. Producers think it's okay. They go ahead and film. Writer is not involved in anything that happens after that, So I'm sure for those writers, they feel script is done, and that's okay as well. Yeah. Like I said, they're not as fortunate as I have to have been part of these processes all the way to the end, So yeah, that's relative. That's relative.
How important do you think it is for the writer to be involved throughout the filmmaking process?
I think it's very important. I know I mentioned before that, you're like one link in a long chain. You write a script, give it to a director. Director reads the script. Director okay, I can make this into a good film. Maybe I can just change a couple of things, so I can put my stamp on it. Get it to a producer. Okay, we like this stuff. Okay, let's go we have some suggestions, because we have to make money. So just do some product placement, blah, 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 all that stuff. So you're just one link in a chain. But then a lot of writers don't understand once they pass the script on, it doesn't belong to them anymore. It's for production, and then they get mad once they say, they see the final film and they're like, I didn't write that, or that's not how I wrote that. That's not how that person was supposed to respond. Then they get all mad and crazy and like, oh, they spoiled their artistic vision and their creative vision and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But I think to mitigate that, a lot of writers, a lot of creative people need to follow that process and see that it's not about them. Take your ego out of it. Yeah. You're just a link in a chain. You're part of this whole thing. They're not actively looking to destroy your creative vision, but there are just some things you might not be able to see during production. Like I said, during production, we're this person couldn't pronounce a certain word that starts with S, and it was we're just looking at the actor what's happening? It's you can't pronounce S. What? So quickly find another word and change it, put it in the script, and we're good. That kind of stuff. So then a writer sitting at home is probably thinking, why didn't they say that line? Not knowing the actor couldn't pronounce that line, and that had to change. So I think the writer needs to know how a film gets made. Not just that I have a script, I've told this story. They need to be taken along, let them see production all the way to the end. It's not an easy something. Yeah. Before I was just happy selling a script and take the script, do whatever you want to do with it. I don't care. Just give me
Your credit.
just give me my credits and I'm good, and the money, obviously, But along the way, I was thinking that one day I'd like to make my own film. I'd like to direct and possibly produce. So I need to know what that all entails.
Yeah.
So I started going to. I don't really like being on set, but I started going to the sets and seeing how things were getting made, and I'm like, okay, oh, film trick this, oh, film trick that, oh, okay, this is how that thing goes, okay. So along the way, I'm like, I have a newfound respect, for cast and crew, for the enormous work they do, and and hopefully I transition from just being screenwriter to filmmaker, complete filmmaker, because now you know the process, and I even advocate for it, like those writers that know everything. You're like, oh, I've written a script, I know what camera they're using, I know the scene blocking, I know this, I know that, you can call yourself a filmmaker, you just don't write stuff, you know the process. So, but, those are just labels, but, I think it's very beneficial to know the process because you're part of it, It'll be weird if you're like in an interview and they're like, hey, so you wrote the script? Yeah, I wrote the script, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what do you think about the visual style? Like, where's director? That's your question. And then the director takes over and you're just sitting there like, I don't know anything, So you can even answer that question. Oh, the visual style was like this and like that, You know the complete film because you're a part of it. You just didn't write it, you're part of it. So I think it helps. It definitely helped me. So I think that's why I'm transitioning also into director and producer, but small, baby steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I see you're on the team that made Silent Tears and it won the AFRIF Audience Award for documentary.
Yes, yeah.
I guess people tend to place importance on screenwriters with the whole feature films, short films, and the whole fiction bit. How important are writers in making documentaries?
Okay. Writers are very important. I think for me, for what I've noticed, I could be wrong, but I think writers and editors for documentaries, very important, and then it's a separate process than writing a feature film, because you have an outline, we're gonna talk about this, and that. Then you go off and shoot. You shoot like a ton of footage, and then you come back and like, okay, we're trying to now fit all this thing that we've shot into this original guideline. But sometimes when you go out and shoot, you might discover a brand new story. So now we have to amend what we're doing. Now you have to write a new story based on what you've shot. So that's where the writer comes in. Very important to now structure and put this semblance of a story together. You have to write it out. There's footage. You have to do the time coding, all that stuff. Research. You have to do research. Add more stuff. Put it all in there. So I think with documentary, the writing comes after the fact, and then you go off to the editor, and then the editor now has to put all this stuff together and make it look good. I think a lot of people within the industry and maybe even outside the industry, when they hear of a documentary, they probably just think, just carry camera, sound, lights, and go and do an interview. They forget that someone actually had to write this thing. Even commercials, you need to write it down so that you have a guideline. It might not look like a traditional script, but you have to write something down so that you can, know what you're filming. So yeah, lots of people don't think documentaries have writers or, to just carry camera again and shoot, Yeah, but and then again, a lot of writers, I've noticed again, maybe even within Nollywood in Nigeria, don't write documentaries because they feel, you don't need a writer for that. Just go carry camera and go and shoot, you know. But you need to know the format, how to write the documentary, separate from TV, separate from series, separate from feature film. And I think we need even more training in documentary writing as opposed to feature film, Yeah, at least that's what I think. So
I see that you were the story editor on Lost Cafe.
Oh yeah, I did that. I completely forgot.
So what does the story editor do?
Wow. Okay, that's actually a weird credit, but I'm happy I'm even still associated with the film. The thing is, I met the director. No, not the director. I know the director, Ken Gang. I met the producer a long time ago, 2011, I think. And Regina Udalo.
Yeah.
I think that's how you say her last name. Yeah. I know it was Reg. So yeah, I met Reg about 2011. She wanted to do a short film. So she had this idea about this Nigerian student that goes to Italy and then discovers this cafe and her love for coffee and how it helped her deal with being an international student.
Yeah.
But this is when Regina was in Italy at the time. She was studying in Italy and it was supposed to be like a Nigerian-Italian co-production short film. So I wrote the short film script. I think it was about maybe 20 minutes, 20 pages, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a long time ago. You know, looking for money, looking for financing, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. Then I don't know how I got it into my head that I think on the second draft, I wrote the second draft of the short film. But then I'm not sure who brought this up. Was it me or was it her that says, what if this could be a feature film? And I told her like, okay, yeah, I was busy writing Tinsel at the time, so I can't write this into a feature film. But then I wrote a treatment. Yeah. I expanded the story for a feature film. Like if you get money to make a feature film, this is what it will look like. Okay, and we left it at that. So I think later on she got a screenwriter. I forgot her name, Ifesinachi something. Yeah, but then she wrote the feature film. You know, I think they followed the treatment that I wrote, but I'm sure they added some more stuff to it, and then they made the film, which you know was great. I mean, she spent so much time on this. I think 6 years to make this feature film, and it was just one of those feature films that just you know. I think this time she was living in Norway, and now it's a Norwegian-Nigerian co-production. You know, she got the amazing Ken Gang to come and direct it, and everything was just great. So I guess me being the story editor was that I concocted that story. Yeah. So I think she was just fortunate enough to give me that credit, you know. But the thing is, I also what a story editor does, and I've done story editing for TV series and feature films, and I didn't ask for any credit. I have a lot of stuff out there without my name attached to it, and that's fine. I don't mind. It's not a big deal. Yeah. So you get an initial story, and you're like, no, change this, change that, put this here, just move the story around. So that's what the story editor does, you know. It's mostly done before script stage, because then you're transitioning into script editor, you know. But you can be a story editor and be a script editor at the same time. Yeah. So if you're following the processes, we have a story. I want a man and a woman to fall in love, blah blah blah. So the story editor comes in. I'm like, they fall in love this way, this and that, this that. So we have a story. Good. You might write it, you might tell people, you know, if I had time to write, I'll write it. If it's just a consultation stuff, I'll do a consultation stuff, no problem. So from there, you have a story. Now you go write the script. So, hey, how does this script look? Is it good? Let me check. Script editor, now check the script and like, remove this, add this, blah, blah, blah. Script editor. That's it. Right. So it's good to have these processes so that you always have quality control. Yeah. You know, you have your writers, you have your screenwriters, you have your story editor, you have your script editor. You know, at least let there be that sub link in the chain to make sure you know, when it comes to story development, have that before it moves on to the next phase. So I've been a lot of things. I've been script writer, script editor, story editor, you know, yeah. I guess it's all part of the creative writing thing in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you come up with your ideas?
I'm not short of ideas. Again, I've told people ideas just to leave me alone. You know, this is what I'm saying. I think this is my talent. I just discovered this fully, I think within the last 3 years, that I have a talent for just coming up with stories, you know. And I think it comes from me just watching a lot of films growing up. Yeah, I used to be sick a lot as a kid, typhoid, malaria. So I remember anytime I got back from the hospital or if I was just recovering, somehow I found myself in front of a TV. So I just watch everything. Nigerian stuff that used to be on NTA, American stuff, international stuff. So I just watch everything. So I kind of, I've noticed that, you know, yeah, stories are universal, but there are different levels to stories. You know, different cultures tell different stories and different people tell different stories, but then they all seem to be in a particular way how they're told. Yeah. So I'm okay. And I always gravitated to interesting stuff. For me, it always starts with what if. You know, what if Nigeria was never colonized by the British? How would we look today? That's a sci-fi alternate reality story. You know, what would our technology look like? Yeah. How will we be dressing? It's not Wakanda. Just, you know, Wakanda is separate. You know, they developed technology based on what they were seeing the rest of the world doing. You know, how are we going to rise with Europe and Americas and all these other countries, but without the burden of, you know, colonization? What will we look like today, 2020? So that's the thing. That's a what if story. I don't know who wants to develop that. Good luck. But it's what if. What if, you know, this wife cheated on her husband, you know, with his brother, and they plan to kill him, you know, but then they try to kill him and it just doesn't work out. He finds out they're trying to kill him, so he turns the table on them and tries to kill them, and that's the story, you know. So what if? What if this happened? What if this happened? What if this happened? Just make it interesting, you know. That's it. And they seem to come to me, you know. So now you have a what if, you have a premise. Now you have to develop this into something that's cinematic, you know. And I guess that's where you have to stretch your creative brain to a certain point. And some people are able to do it by themselves. Other people, they need a workshop. They need hey, I need to bounce an idea off you. Yeah. What if this thing happened? They're like, no, try again. Okay, what if this thing, like, okay, let's develop that. Before you know it, you have a movie. Fourth Republic came about, I think, 2015, just about that time. Was it 2015 or 2016? And that was done with my frequent creative collaborator, Ishaya Bako. Yeah, so I usually, you know, I write, he directs. You know, we kind of have a shorthand. So we've done 3-4 films together, I guess. We co-wrote Lionheart, co-wrote Roti Yesterday. Co-wrote Fourth Republic and Silent Tears. So we've done a lot of work together. So he's more receptive to my ideas. You know, he'll tell me, nah, this doesn't work. Yeah. Try again. And mostly he'll come up with an idea. I'm like, nah, try again. You know, that kind of stuff. So, you know, that process, I think, just you have to have someone to bounce your ideas off of, you know, because again, for me, it's not, there's no ego involved in this thing. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Try again. You know, I'm not adamant that it has to be like this. No, you know. So some people are able to do it themselves. Some people need others to, like, you know, help develop the idea more. So, you know, I'm more of a, hey, let's tell a good story. Whether it's my name there or 5 people's names there, let's do it. I noticed people were talking about Lionheart and why are there 5 writers there? I'm like, Spider-Man had 5 writers too. So what's the point? You know, what's the problem? You know, people come in and make changes to the script all the time. World War Z, some people, I think the guy came in, Damon Lindelof came in and just rewrote the whole 3rd act because the 3rd act that was from the novel did not work, And I don't know if you got credit for that or not, but there are script doctors that come and put their stuff. And however much you contribute to the script, and you feel like your name deserves to be there, and let it be there. It doesn't take anything away from me.
Yeah.
We make a film. We tell the story. This one didn't work. We'll try again. Your last film is your last film. We're on to something else. Hopefully this one everybody will like it. So, yeah. What if?
Nice. So the thing is, right now there's kind of more visibility on the Nigerian film industry and our films. Do you think there's a threat of us trying to make things similar to Hollywood and other industries? And what do you think is an African story?
This is one of those debates that I'd honestly like to know more about, but I do have my opinion about it. I don't think we're under threat. The fact that we were colonized, there's no threat. Everything, not everything, more than half the things that we do as Nigerians are influenced by our colonizers, are influenced by the West, are influenced by foreigners, from what we're wearing to we're speaking English. There's no threats. We lost that fight. The fight is over. We're here now. We're seeing the way they've done things. Hollywood is at least 100 or couple hundred years ahead of us. So we are playing catch up. A lot of developing countries, film industries are playing catch up. So let's not kid ourselves. We are playing catch up. How many years ago did we have VCD? We had the Living in Bondage. We had classic Hollywood, Nollywood, VHS to VCD. Now we're to cinema. Now we're streaming. So I don't think we will ever stop trying to be like them. It's impossible. It's not how they talk about systemic racism. In America, there is systemic, post-colonialism here. So that's not going away anytime soon. But what we now have are platforms for us to showcase our culture, our stories. And I just wish enough of our filmmakers would take advantage of that and try to push more of our stories out there. South Africa does it. We're looking at a country that was steeped in colonization for a very long time, but not even that. We're looking at world cinema. Let's look at world cinema. Norway, they're telling their films in Norway. Korea, well, we love their films. They're telling their specific type of films. Japan, all these countries. Bollywood is like synonymous with pushing their stories, even though a lot of them are copy and paste, some of those Bollywood films. But for the most part, they are Indian in execution. Yeah. Very Indian in execution. And they might be remaking, I don't know, Rambo or something, but it's told with a very Indian aesthetic, to the fact, you might even be watching it and not know that this used to be a Hollywood film, and they have their own film structure and everything like that. So I am just happy that more platforms are available for us to tell our stories. But now we just need to tell our stories. Growing up, I had heroes like Rambo, and, the Stallones and the Schwarzeneggers and the Van Dammes and the Bruce Willises. These were all heroes. And then later on, you have your Jack Bauer and all these people. What about Nigerian heroes? Where are they? We don't have them, or we haven't created them enough to the point that I can quote a line from a Nigerian film and say, yeah, and then another Nigerian guy will be like, I know exactly what you're talking about, we don't have that, but I can quote lines from Godfather. I can quote the whole Pulp Fiction film. I can do that because those were the films I was watching. Those were the things that were interesting, and as much as I try to get into Nigerian films, a lot of them, and I watch a lot of them, but they don't resonate the same way because I feel that the language used is still not our language. You might throw in pidgin there and all that stuff. Some of those stories will get recognized. Some of those stories will get, passed along. But for the most part, there's no general consensus that this is our story, So even for me, I'm trying to decolonize my storytelling, as much as the reality is this is who we are now, I want to get back to, like indigenous names for all my characters, go into the heart of our culture, good or bad, let's still put it out there, Yeah, we used to kill twins, we used to eat people, they still eat people, in some obscure towns here and there, Yeah, let's tell those stories. Why are we still eating people in 2020? What's wrong with us? Is it a culture thing? Is it just we haven't learned, or is there a purpose, like, killing your enemy and eating them? What's that about? Let's find out. Is it a culture? Those types of things. So I'm trying to decolonize my storytelling and try to create our heroes. We have tons of them, America, they put their heroes and their founding fathers on their money. Some people don't even know who is on our Naira notes. What's the story? Why is this person important that they had to put them on a Naira note?
Yeah.
That's the story. Those are stories. Why are we not telling those stories? So, and I am a big fan of history. I studied history as a minor in university. So I'm really big on history. I love history. I love historical figures. I love history, and the truth is, that common phrase that if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it, and a lot of us don't know our history, and I feel like our stories are in our history. Yeah. The colonialism tried to destroy our history, but enough of it survived. Whether it's an oral history or whatever, it's still there. Let's find out what it is and let's bring that back. Let's show that to the world that we were like this. We have this story. We want to tell you about this person that lived this time. Jaja Vopobo, King Koko, Nana, Atahiro, all these people, Queen Amina, Shango, all of them, they're there. And yes, who created the Nigerian flag? Who's that guy? Or who's that woman? I don't know. What's the story? Was he commissioned? Is this something that he created the flag and went to meet the British and said, see, I think we should use this flag for our independence? Mm-hmm. What's the story? All these things, So I get tired when I see the same old stuff. And like I said, that's that threat you're talking about of our Western type stories. I'm not saying don't experiment. I'm not saying don't get your hands strong in this filmmaking thing by telling those stories, but I just wish at some point we get back to us. I want to be somewhere else in the next 10 years, watching TV with foreigners, and a Nigerian film comes up, and I'm like, that's my country. They're like, what's happening? I'm like, see, watch this film. Say, shut up and watch this film. This is my country that's on the screen. That will make me so happy. So for now, we're doing the best we can.
But is it really the best?
It has to be. It is with the resources. Let's not kid ourselves. We are a developing country. So I won't say it's an excuse, but see, the level of poverty in Nigeria is real. There's a big demarcation between the haves and the have-nots. And the people that have and decide to make films are telling their stories. So imagine the people that have nots get a bit of money to tell their stories. So now you have different genres, different types of stories coming out, and that's great. but we need the resources, we need all that stuff, just like every other industry. There are people making bad films in America, bad student films, bad, just bad. You're like, what is this? Why? But they're trying as well. They too need to graduate from here to here to here. It's like those indie directors that, they did something notable, and then the big studios are like, okay, come, take money, come and make this big film, or something like that. So there's that, you're always looking to evolve. So the home video people, the classic Nollywood, they did the best they could with what they had. Now we have all this noise canceling technology. We can drown out the sound of generator. There's special effects, better special effects. They used to have special effects back then, but better special effects, all that stuff. So we're doing the best we can with what we have. That's why I'm saying in the next 10 years, hopefully when I'm not doing this anymore, those people will be doing the best they can with what they have. Industry, Hollywood, 100 years ahead of us. It's okay. We are probably 20 plus years ahead of some other industries, some other countries that don't even make films. Yeah. So we're doing okay, man. See, I'm not going to come and kill myself. And we shouldn't. And that's okay. I'm not saying don't be ambitious. Don't strive for excellence. Push the envelope as much as you can with what you can. Just make sure whatever that we're putting out makes sense and is entertaining. Enough that people like Showmax and Netflix and Hulu and Amazon are seeing the need for bringing more of our stories out and showing it to the rest of the world. So we're on the right track. Those are the platforms that everybody's watching, Abi. We have Nigerian filmmakers in the diaspora doing amazing things. Andrew Dosumu. We have people doing stuff. So it's not the end. They'll continue. I don't have to be part of it. I'm doing the best I can here as well. Yeah. But let there be progress. Let there be some, let there be some modicum of progress that we can see, So yeah, we're doing the best we can. We're doing the best we can. Let's not try to kill ourselves. Start where you can start. Yeah. Get to where you need to get to and hope for the best. I'm not going to be able to tell all the stories in my head. I'm not going to be able to write all the scripts I have in my head. I'm not going to be able to make all the films I have in my head. But if I make enough that I'm proud of, I'll be okay.
You started your production company called Sutoritera.
Yeah, that little thing. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a very interesting name.
Yeah, everybody asked me about that. It's not a big deal. It just means storyteller in Japanese. I'm very ingrained in the Japanese culture. Yeah, I'm married to Japanese. My wife is Japanese. She's taught me so much about Japan, and I've learned about Japan as well, and I've tried to incorporate a lot of Japanese aesthetics into my daily life and what I do. So when it came time to when it came time to form my production company, this is actually my second production company. My first production company was Rated E Productions. People erroneously thought Rated E was my name. It's like, Rated E, Emil. But no, I think it's not because my name is Emil and it's E. No, it's just Rated E for excellence, because I try to be, to strive for excellence in everything I was doing. But I opened up Rated E in 2014 just to see what I could accomplish. It's kind of a test run, what I could accomplish within the industry. I've done some things with it. I've learned a lot with Rated E. So I've evolved as a person, and I said, I want to make these types of films now. I want to tell these types of stories now that are mine, that are personal, that are indigenous. And I'll open up a new production company. They're like, just use Rated E. I'm like, no, I need to evolve. And evolution means I leave whatever was behind, because if you changes, you can change one thing and always go back to it. When you evolve, you don't go back to that thing, So I evolved it into Sutoritera, which is, like I said, storyteller in Japanese. It could have been storyteller in any other language, The but I chose Japanese because it's personal to me as well. And I think it would be odd when you have a name like Sutoritera and the company you're making Nigerian films. They're like, what is this Japanese company? Why is it a Japanese name and you're making Nigerian films? But that's not the point. The point is that, it's an indigenous name and I want to make indigenous films, not indigenous language films per se, just films that speak to me as a Nigerian, and I think every Nigerian will recognize, there could be comedies, could be sci-fi, it could be drama, it could be anything, but let it be something that every Nigerian will identify and say, yes, that's cool, that's something, Yeah. So I started that last year, no.
2018?
2018, yeah. I started that 2018, and my first production, I wrote and directed a short film called Last Tango in Abuja. I'm still in post-production with that because I like to take my time. What's the rush, really? Like I said, see, if this is the one thing I ever do in my life that I wrote and directed, I'll be fine. But I can see the potential for it. So, and like I said, I always strive for excellence. So let me make it the best short film I can make it. And if this is received well, I can move on to feature film and do some other things. But yeah, hopefully I'll be done with Last Tango soon and unveil it to the rest of the world. Unveil the film, the short film, and my company to the rest of the world. So fingers crossed.
Can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait myself because this one is personal. So I'll take the criticism, I'll take the reviews, I'll take whatever I can get to make it better. Yeah. Because I'm all about self-improvement and self-actualization. So yeah. So Sutoritera, try and say that instead of storyteller, because there's a company, storyteller, this and that. So, but I'm like, hi, this person took the name I wanted. Okay, Sutoritera. Yeah. So
you directed this short film. Does that mean you're going to stop writing, or what direction are you heading?
I hope I stop writing, but I know I can't stop writing, but I only write things that are interesting and personal to me now. It's a short film. It was like 15 pages, So I just had this story in my head. I'm like, okay, let me write it. And the good thing is that I directed it how I wrote it, or I wrote how I wanted to direct it. Yeah, that one. I wrote it how I wanted to direct it. Yeah. And I think I did a good job of that, as far as I can tell. So I'll wait for you guys to tell me if I should never get behind the camera ever again, But because I didn't know anything about directing, but everybody I've worked with, Ishaya, my producer Bem, all my friends, like, you should direct, there's just direct, nothing. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Even it took Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I said I'll never do it again. But just watching the film, I'm seeing like the mistakes I made and things I could have improved on. So I'm like, I'll definitely do this again. Maybe not now, but I feel like I'll do this again. So I wrote it, I directed it, I'm producing it. I want to push it as far as I can push it and see where it goes. And if the reception is good, then I'll definitely try to market myself as a filmmaker now. Like I said, you want to evolve from just that screenwriting thing. Because I said, hey, pretty much everything you write is visual. So you have a good eye. So maybe you should direct. That's how that thing entered my head. So I'm like, okay, I'll try this thing out. So that's what I did. Seemed to work out for the most part. So if there's more of it, I would like to work on something that's not mine. I've spoken to a couple of people, a couple of authors that did some short stories, little novellas and things like that. And I said, maybe this could make a good short film. So, hey, Emil, come take a look at it, look at the story. What do you think? Could this make a good short film? I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll direct it. Cool. So we're talking. Let's see. Maybe if it's not mine, I'll be. I don't know. No, I think I'll have the same level of energy. Yeah. Because like I said, I strive for excellence. So let me see. So yeah, who knows? In the next 10 years, man, you were like, Emil, I remember when I used to write, just how I used to write and draw comics 20 years ago. Now I'm a director. It's Nigeria, man. See, that's the Nigerian dream. That's the Nigerian dream. So I'm here for that. Yeah. So let's see. Let's talk again in 20 years.
Okay.
That's if, I don't know, this COVID thing goes away.
Hopefully it does. Let's say there's a young writer. They're trying to get their stories seen by producers, and I think sometimes some producers, when I say take advantage or prey on these young writers, and sometimes there might not be any remuneration, or they might just pretty much take the whole story and there's no credit. How do you think these young writers can protect themselves?
Well, this being Nigeria, a lot of things aren't, on the up and up. But for the most part, we're all trying to be good people. And it's, from my experience, I've had, it's been 10 years. I've had people that, try to, take money from me, people that didn't want to pay me, just people that were just unnecessarily crazy, clients, and it took me a while to sift through who was sincere, who was just, crazy and all that stuff. And then me now getting a bit more confident in my abilities for me to say, no, it's not happening like that. No, this is not going to work. No, 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 no. And I'm working with some great people now. I've surrounded myself with some great people that look out for me and I look out for them. So these things don't happen. But coming up back then, there are no rules. See, there are no rules. I see Nigeria as the Wild West, especially when it comes to our media industries. Music, maybe they have their stuff figured out. But for the movie entertainment industry, I don't know what the guilds are doing. I've never joined a guild. There's nobody looking out for me but me and people I work with and my friends and family. So for the young people, trying to come up, because credits is everything in our line of work. It's credit, because who knows who you are if they don't know what you've done. So I get actors are out there like taking selfies and doing monologues and letting people see them, because you need to be seen. You're a face. We need to see you. But the writers like me, that people don't know who wrote this thing. Who cares? They don't know who I am. But I know I wrote this, so I need my credits. My credits is that thing. If you're gonna hire me for a job, hey Emil, what have you done? I just start listing on myself. They're like, oh yeah, that guy. Okay, baba, okay, whatever. So credit is our currency. Next to actual currency. So for these people that are coming up, I hope they're not like me, where when I started, I was, I wanted my story to be told. I'll do anything. Just make the film. You don't have to pay me. Just make the film. Oh, I want to work with you. Blah, 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 blah. I was everywhere. I remember writing an email to Teco Benson about, I think I watched one of his films on DVD, VCD at the time. And I said I had this great story, and just based off this thing that I watched, I think he will be a great director and blah blah blah. So I wrote him an email and explained the kind of story I wanted to tell. I said I didn't have a script yet, but blah 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 blah. So I sent it to him because I got his name and a number and the email, a Facebook from the back of the VCD. If call so and so people, blah blah blah. Facebook. I was stalking these people, and I think I did that for Teco Benson. I did that for Mahmoud Ali Balogun. I did that for Kunle Afolayan, and I did that for Obi Emenloye. Yeah, those 4 people. So out of the 4, Obi Emenloye got back to me. But not then. He got back to me like 3-4 years later on, which was actually surprising, because I think he read what I wrote, but he was doing something at the time. It was later on that he actually put out a call on Facebook. He said he was looking for this guy. He had a weird name. I think his last name is Garuba. He sent me this very nice email with this story he wanted to tell. Please, does anybody know who this is? So in the comment section, people are just writing, it's Emil, it's Emil, it's Emil, it's Emil, it's Emil. And that's how I got in touch with him. And I gave him this script that I wrote, the first script I wrote in Nigeria, Love Struck. And he turned that into an African Magic original film. So I wrote this in 2009. We made the film in 2013. That was like my first film. Before then, I was writing on tinsel. But that was my first film. I was like, okay, so this thing works. These people actually got back in touch with me. Someone got back in touch with me. So there's hope, But it's one of these things where by that time, I already had like a lawyer. So he sent me a contract. I'm like, I like my lawyer to take a look at it. It's like, no problem. Give it to the lawyer. The lawyer said, this is great now. Collect the money, do this and that. I'm like, okay, go back to him. And my lawyer says, this is fine. Okay, no problem. Had a transaction. Everything was great. He went off and made the film. I was happy about it. Life continued, So, and it only got better from there. So I had some sort of negotiating power just based off, I knew my worth and and I can do this because I just need a second opinion. And along the way, you have some people that will try, like I said, they try to shortchange you and treat, I think there's still a woman that owes me 75K that ran away after I wrote the script. This was like 2014, 2015, around that time. We wrote the script, sent the first draft. She paid 75%. Bring the remaining money now. Ground no level, blah, blah, blah. Now she disappeared. I heard she's she's a pastor now, so I can't ask her for my money. But anyway, I let that one slide, But I got to the point where you have to do your due diligence. You have to fight for yourself. You have to decide what you want first and foremost before you get into any kind of transaction or any type of arrangements when it comes to your script. A lot of you can copyright your script. I don't know if it's a lot of money. I can't remember how much it is, but I did a copyright on a couple of my scripts. I remember Fourth Republic, we did a copyright on that specifically. We have that done. So you can copyright your script. You can get any lawyer that is your friend. It would be great if they're an entertainment lawyer, but any other lawyer who should be able to look through a contract and decide if this works for you or not. But I know there are entertainment lawyers around now that are actually doing stuff. So if it could cost you some money, but still get in contact with them, tell them about your contract. Don't let anyone push you into responding immediately. Some people send me emails. I tell them I'll get back to them. I get back to them like in 2 weeks, because I'm sitting in my house. You came to meet me, So I'll get back to you when I get back to you. So, but most of the time, I'm just checking you out. I'm looking you up. I'm making sure you're on the up and up because I don't want to be burned. I know why you called me. You heard about me somehow and that I do a good job. So let me do my due diligence to find out more about you. Even if it means I have to go to police and tell them, find out about this guy. I need to know who I'm getting, who I'm dealing with, kind of stuff. So I do that, So copyright, do your due diligence. And sometimes, I'm not a fan of getting online to, put people on blast on social media. That's not my style. It might work for some people, but that's just not who I am. And maybe I'm coming from a point of privilege where I know that, okay, so they took that story. I can come up with 1,000 more stories. It's not, these are not children. These are not real things. These are things I wrote and created and passed out. It's not a real child that you have to feed and change their diaper and all that stuff. That's real. Scripts, stories, come up with another one. You can come up with another one. It's not that deep. Come up with another. You're a creative person, Shay. Come up with another one. Just don't work with this person again. Just cut this person out. Okay, you have been burned. If you continue being burned, then that's a problem because now you're not protecting yourself. So I can let that one go, but I understand there's some stories that are seriously personal to some writers, and they're like, no, this one, You can't, no, this is that one that you can't take my story and go and do something with it, and then all that. I get that. So whatever you do, just try to protect yourself. Try to surround yourself with people that are looking out for you so that that doesn't happen. Because in life, people are going to step on your neck to get ahead.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should step on their necks. Just put like grease on your shoulder or something so they'll fall, so protect yourself, that kind of stuff, But I'll also tell young people, don't be so eager to succeed, and not success like that, because it's not instant. I don't believe in instant fame. No one just comes from anywhere and like boom. Even people that Big Brother Naija, they were doing stuff before. This is just more exposure. So don't be in a hurry to be seen, to be known. Success comes over time. It comes over time. So you just wanted like, I did this, I'm here now. Yeah, so what? I keep saying it, your last film was your last film. What else you got? What are you doing now? And that one has passed. That was last year. What's happening now? Can you replicate what you did last year? So you got your foot in the door. You're in the room now. What? Oh, yeah, I'm a writer. I want to do this. Oh, yeah. Take money, write this thing. Nothing, or complete crap. You say you're a writer now. What is this? What am I reading? What is this? So I had a lot of that, because people just saying, they were in it for the wrong reason. So like, I just need to get my foot in the door. But they didn't have that thing to back it up. You have a product you're selling. You're selling your skill. You're selling your talent. We will be able to tell, just so you don't need to make that much noise, So yeah, just be mindful. And last, if there's anything that happens that just doesn't agree with you, get a lawyer, call police, make sure, if this is important to you, get the law involved. Yeah. However long it takes, whether it's 5 years or 50 years, if you have that integrity and you want to make sure you have justice, get it done. It happens. People go to courts over intellectual property and all that stuff. So yeah, why not you? Someone stole your script, turned it into something else. Get the law involved. Do what you can with what you have.
Yeah.
It might be limited, but like I said, if it's important to you, do it.
As an industry, we need to keep evolving. What do you want to see in the Nigerian film industry?
That's a loaded question, because first of all, I don't think we have an industry. My version and vision of an industry is something that has checks and balances. We don't have that. We're just a group of like-minded people that have some resources and our love for film that are making film. Like I said, we don't have checks and balances, and the guilds would dictate a lot of this. How many hours you can work, how much you're getting paid, just standardized things. We don't have that. Everybody's dealing however they're dealing, and it could be better. But like I said, I don't think it's an industry yet. It's turning into an industry, which would be great. That one can happen. What we need is to become a better industry, with the checks and balances, But for the people that think we have an industry, that's great. No disrespect to them as well. On that level, one of the things we need is to stop piracy, because we're too early into our filmmaking, that we're being pirated. What the hell? Back in the day when they were making silent films, we're not pirating those films. People actually went to watch silent films in the cinema. Then they brought sound. Then they went to the cinema to watch and make these sounds. Cinema films is sound and, all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure there are some people like taking the reels and watching them in their private homes and stuff, but it wasn't as rampant as it is now. With the birth of the internet, obviously, a lot of things got pirated. A lot of Hollywood films lost their revenue, but for the most part, they still made a lot of money And these were not even blockbuster films, films like Jaws and Godfather and, all these films. They were still blockbusters, but when you're looking at the Independence Days, the Armageddons, Transformers, Avatars, Titanics, big films, Yeah, they were pirating films in the 80s and the 70s in like Asia. You go and find like Top Gun in Singapore or Thailand or something. And no problem there. But for the most part, they were still making money. We are too early in our filmmaking to be pirating, because it's killing us, So if there was some sort of law, I think there is, but I don't know how effective it is to stop piracy in the industry, in our industry. I think we need a few scapegoats. It's not just shutting down websites, like physically arresting these people that are selling these things in wheelbarrows and all that stuff. But I don't think the federal government really cares about the entertainment industry to the extent that they say they care about the entertainment industry, what this thing that we have. They make speeches and blah, 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 and talk about culture. And for the most part, money tends to show up and disappear. And then the people that really need it don't get it to tell the stories that they want to tell, from my experience anyway. So it's like every other year, some politician will come and talk about, hey, there's some new film village, hey, there's some new desert, this and blah, blah, blah. It'll come and go. They'll allocate money to it, but it will go. So it's not sustainable. Yeah. So if they can at least help us out with the piracy laws, I think it'll make us feel better that when we're making films, we're able to pay cast and crew. We're able to recoup money for investors, and we're able to continue this ball rolling. Because if there's some sort of, again, checks and balances, you give the investors back their money, they're more likely to give you money again to make film and then recoup money. And then it's just a cycle, it keeps going. But the first time they give you like 40 mil, you gotta make your film and you only made like 20 mil. They're like, where's the remaining 20? Like piracy. They're not going to give money to anyone ever again. They're rather going to farming because they've been burned. And our economy is not the type of place you want to gamble with that type of money, So I can understand why some big corporations and some people don't give money for films, because they're like, it's a bad bet. It's not a good investment. Film, no. With your piracy and your this and that, no. How am I going to recoup my money? You as a filmmaker start explaining all the avenues where they can recoup their money. Like, so I have to wait until money comes from this platform. There's money that comes from this platform. There's money that comes from cinema. There's money that comes from all this. It's a long something, And then, but if we had like a surefire way of saying that, see, there's no more piracy, there's nothing. This money from cinema, you get your own gross, this is it. This money from DVD, you get this one, bam. Whatever, yeah, good. Whatever else is mine and all that. Clear-cut things. So, but piracy is making that very hard. Like I said, it's one of the things we need desperately. I don't honestly believe it's funds to make film, but it would be great if there was some kind of fund for filmmakers to access to make films. But then again, even without that fund, people are making films every day. So I don't see that as too much of a barrier. It's a problem. The third thing I would say is the monopoly on distribution channels. There are I feel like there's some stifling of the distribution channel, where if you don't go through this platform, you can't, your film won't be seen, So I think we need more platforms, or the dismantling of these existing platforms that's determine if your film is good enough to show or not. I mean, I know you want to make money, so this is a product. We're giving you a product. You might say, and this is not our thing. Go to the next guy. Let's hear what they say, So, not that this is not our thing, but you can't, just don't go anywhere. You can't, or they'll buy it from you and keep it.
Yeah.
And they'll never release it. And you're like, where's my film now? And we're waiting for the next slot, or we're waiting for the next opening, or we're waiting for the next schedule, whatever. And it's just, it's not fair. It's just not fair. They kill your creative spirit, and they actively do that. I know there's politics involved and there's a whole bunch of money involved. I just wish everyone was on the same page to some extent, that we're in this filmmaking thing together, So yeah, but piracy has always been a problem, and I feel like enough hasn't been done to stop it. Yeah.
So how can people find you?
How can people find me? I am on social media. You can find me at @ratedeg on Twitter, and you can find me on Instagram, Rated E Productions. I haven't opened up my Sutoritera page yet. And you can also reach me on Rated E Productions ng@gmail.com. But now this is the thing. I will not read any scripts. I don't read scripts anymore. And this is just, for legal things, and for legal reasons. Again, with these people that are like, oh, I want you to read my script, and what do you think? No, I don't want to do that. I'm not a teacher. I'm not an expert. I'm just another guy. There are people that do that. There are people that say, hey, I will read and give you notes and blah 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 and all that kind of stuff. That's great. Those are the teachers. Hopefully they'll move this industry thing forward. I'm just another guy that happens to know some stuff that is currently working. No better, no worse. If I don't work on your project, you're gonna find someone else to work on it. I won't feel bad, because I'm just another guy. It's not for me. I'm okay, but just so that later on it doesn't conflict with an idea that I have. And then later, if you see that somewhere and then, oh, but I sent you my script and you got the idea from my script. So I'm not doing that. I do it on a case-by-case basis. If you want me to read a script or something like that, it's either going to come with a fee, or I'll decide if I need to read it or not. So it's just, like I said, for legal purposes. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Emil, for coming on the podcast.
Man, thanks for having me.
We have come to the end of this episode. Please remember to leave a rating and a review. You can send in your questions and feedback on social media. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter @SelegotFilm, and the podcast also on Instagram and Twitter @the Naija Film Pod. See you on the next episode. Have a good one.